morning, everybody. I just wanted to do this video in regards to, the state of the Democratic and Republican Party. I really think it's important for us as citizens to actually know what's going on. I want to start by, going to the past. In the past, the Democratic Party was supposed to be, historically has been the party for the people, for social issues, for trying to make economically an equal playing field. That's what they have historically have been. And in my view, the Republican Party mostly has been a party of oppression and for the upper class, trying to make laws where the upper class or the corporatists or the corporations to acquire more, to oppress the many for the few. And I feel like what we're leading to right now, where we're at is the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are almost one and the same, in the sense that the Republican Party has moved all the way to the far right, meaning that they're even more extreme than what they used to be. I'm a very big follower of politics now. I'm a very big follower of a lot of things these days. And what I see is the Republican Party are extremists in that, you hear them say, they want to ban Muslims. And, Trump is, beating Hillary in the polls right now off of his stances that he wants to ban Muslims, that he sees Mexicans as rapists and thieves. And he's leading in the polls right now. And Hillary Clinton, she is one of the biggest liars and one of the biggest people bought by corporations. We see corporations being able, it's legal now for you to be able to buy a politician in the way of political or campaign contributions. We are moving towards a society where we can buy politicians to enact any law, whether it's constitutional or not, like the law that was just passed with repealing of, what was the law? It was a law that was repealed. It was a court case. I'll remember in a second. But this law was repealed, and now it says that corporations are people. Corporations are people, so now they can donate or they can contribute large sums of money to a candidate. Like any amount of money, saying that a corporation is a person. So, we as people have the option of giving money to a candidate of our choice that we feel align mostly with our views. Well, now they're saying that a corporation, a business, essentially, is a person. So that business or corporation can donate any amount, any sum of money, with no caps to how much can be given. Any amount of money to a candidate. So, and obviously, if I'm giving large sums of money to a candidate, then my views are going to be expressed. The policies that I want to see enacted are going to be they're going to be front and center. And so that's very, very dangerous for, obvious reasons. We have to be very active in politics these days, because things are getting very, very dangerous, even when it comes to climate change. Republicans deny climate change because you have people like the Koch brothers that are basically bribing just outright buying politicians, mainly Republicans. But even now, the way it is now, they've bought Democratic politicians like Hillary Clinton. She receives a large amount of her funding from the oil industry, so she's going to have interest in the oil. Although we're facing a climate change catastrophe, which means that we need to be going all the way to the left. We need to be running away from fossil fuels and getting off of fossil fuels to renewable energy like solar energy, wind, solar energy, wind, and things of that nature that can be renewed. That's gonna help the climate instead of harm it. And she is supporting fracking, which is worse than what we're doing right now with burning coal. We're burning coal and digging for oil. It's 80 times worse than burning coal. It produces, or it emits 80 times more carbon into the atmosphere. A lot of people don't know about the ozone, but the ozone layer is the protective shield around the earth that keeps harmful sun rays from the earth. And that ozone is disappearing. The ice caps on the solar and North Pole are melting, which is why we're seeing more natural disasters, more natural catastrophes. In the coming years, in the coming decades, some of our shores, like down in Florida, are going to be underwater, which means that right now they're even having plans to build higher grounds, higher lands, higher roads due to the rising sea levels. And it's all about politics. We really need to wake up and actually be involved. It's critical that you're involved and that you know what's going on, because it's very dangerous to pick a nominee or pick a candidate off of their political stance as being Democrat or being Republican, because they're one and the same these days. I'm very afraid of where America is going. We see terrorism these days as other countries. We see other countries as terroristic threat. But if you look objectively at the U.S. and how we in our policies, we're terrorists to other countries. If 1,000 Americans are killed in a war, we are, just like 9/11, we had thousands. Even though I don't think that was a terrorist attack, I think that was something the U.S. did. But that's another conversation. But even with the supposed terrorist attack about 9/11, how we had thousands of people killed, and now 9/11 is almost like a holiday. We'll never forget. But we have drones flying over other countries, killing millions of people. Look at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We detonated an atomic bomb on two cities in Japan and killed, potentially millions of people, thousands and thousands of people. And so, aren't we terrorists in the views of other countries or other people? Like, it's very, it concerns me a lot about where we're going. Like, we really need to wake up and start paying attention to who we're voting for, what's actually going on in the world. We can't have these terroristic policies and still see ourselves as the greatest country in the world. Our education is lower than, other countries. Like, I think when it comes to education and health, we come 38. We're number 38 in the world. That's very, very low for a country that considers itself to be the best country in the world. We're the only industrialized country in the world that doesn't have healthcare for all. You really don't hear about this on the news. We're the only country that doesn't have healthcare as a right to all people, being that our tax money that we pay, every citizen and Americans pay, that money doesn't go towards our healthcare, so we don't have to pay the extra, $200 and $300 a month for health insurance. That should be paid in our taxes. And Hillary Clinton once said, this, Bernie Sanders is fighting for a single payer program that will never ever happen, and it will, in her eyes, it will never ever happen because she's bought by these big corporations and these big campaign contributors that doesn't want that to happen. We really, really need to be concerned about what's going on. I can't stress that enough. We need to be involved in politics, actively involved. I'm just afraid of where we're going, to be honest. And a lot of people, we get caught up in our 9-to-5 jobs and our daily lives, taking care of kids and trying to, go to school. Rightfully so, but we also need to be involved as individual citizens, because just voting for a Democratic candidate is not always the best choice. However, I can never see myself voting for a Republican such as Donald Trump. But the Democratic nominee is almost as worse because of her track record. It's just very concerning. It's very, I'm just concerned. It's very heartbreaking to see where we're headed as a country, and we really just need to wake up, because it's getting worse. It's getting worse. And the media is just horrible. You have Fox News, who's an extreme right-wing point of view, and they just don't. I don't see the interests of the people at all. And then you have CNN and MSNBC, and they'll get a guy like Bill Nye the Science Guy to have a debate about climate change with a congresswoman who's a Republican who denies climate change. You have no credentials in science, but you're gonna debate about climate change. The debate is over, by the way. There is no debate that climate change is real. Climate change is real. But you have Republicans that still want to have this debate because they're in big money corporations' pocket, or the oil industry's pocket, that doesn't want to see us go away from oil change, because that doesn't want to see us get off of fossil fuels, because it's going to mean the ending of their corporation, even though they're already billionaires. The oil industry is $1 trillion business. We really just need to wake up, like, seriously. If you're not registered to vote right now, you need to be registered to vote. If you just need to get out here and if you don't know how to get registered to vote, you can inbox me and I can help you. I will help you out. I have a lot of time on my hands. I can help you out or tell you how you can go and register to vote. It's a very simple process. You really need to get out here and register to vote. If you're going to vote for someone, know what their policies are. Some people, like this guy online, Bobby Edge, on my Facebook page, wanted to have a debate about who was better, Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. And I asked for some of Hillary Clinton policies that he liked, or that he saw that was good in his eyes, and he couldn't even name a policy of hers. And this is some of the ignorance that I'm talking about when we vote for candidates that we absolutely know nothing about or know very, very little about, rather than what we've seen on the media. And the media is only advertisement for either a Republican or they're advertising for a Democrat. So we really need to just, speak truth, because you can't have a science guy and a congresswoman debate about climate change when there is no debate. And CNN and MSNBC will be like, here's Bill Nye, here's Bill Nye point of view, and here's the congressman point of view. Make your decision without being objective and actually saying, climate change is real. Instead of giving us the facts, and if you're gonna have a debate and then have there be an outcome. We know that climate change is real, and that's how MSNBC and CNN do things. They're not objective. They have two people up most of the time knowing which one is right. There's always a right and a wrong. Most of the time knowing which one is right, but they put these two up there as their equal and say, well, make your decision. This is what it is. We don't know. This is one opinion, this is another, without being objective. So it's just very scary where our politics, where the media is going. The media is horrible, which is why I don't watch it. I get my news from TYT, the Young Turks on YouTube. If you're gonna look on any media story, go to the TYT on YouTube, the Young Turks, TYT, or the Jimmy Dore Show, or people like Secular Talk. That's just very, very important for you to actually know what's going on. Again, I'm very concerned. You should also be very concerned, because, it matters. It matters a great deal. Again, good morning, and just wake up, get registered to vote, and, look these people up before you vote for them, because Democratic in this day and era also means Republican. So I'm voting for Jill Stein. I try to put that in all my videos. I'm voting for Jill Stein, who is in line with some of almost all of Bernie Sanders' policies about the $15 minimum wage, health care for all, bringing down our debt. Also with the military being oversized, and bringing down some of the funds for our military, because we're just wasting money in the military. Basically, we're just wasting money. There was another study that came out recently that showed that we either wasted or we can't even account for $6 trillion of taxpayer money. So we just need to get involved. Thanks.